All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. We're talking a lot about situations beyond the ITC. So that's the title of the webinar is Beyond the ITC. We here at Watthub, we do commercial solar development, commercial solar installations, anything commercial solar finance, helping on material purchases or procurement, anything of that nature. We were born as a tech platform to assist the industry. We do a lot of webinars. If you go onto our YouTube page, you'll see that we have quite a few commercial solar sales trainings. You're going to want to view those. They're about an hour and 15 minutes long. They go from 101 all the way to 302. And we're doing another one today as a look when the ITC expires, what does commercial solar look like? And I think you're going to find a bullish sentiment that we have. So uh, starting off, just introduce myself, John McDonnell, CEO of Watthub Renewables, also principal of Sunrenew Solar, which is a commercial solar contractor. That's where I get a lot of my uh, pricing, constructability, all that knowledge. I grabbed that from 17 years of building commercial solar projects. Also here with me is Chris Leonard, who is our Chief Revenue Officer. I'll let him introduce himself. He is the master closer, if there is a master closer of commercial.
Awesome. Happy to be here, everybody. Excited to jump into this and talk a little bit more about the Beyond the ITC. Definitely still a awesome industry that we're in. We're all blessed that are in it, as you all should be aware. And without this tax credit, not going to be a massive change. It's going to be different ways you focus. But a little bit about myself, been in the solar industry since 2012. I go back into the Solar City days, ran door-to-door teams throughout the country, helped train managers and whatnot, and then been able to be blessed to work with John McDonnell here at Watthub for the last 7 years. So it's been an awesome experience, and again, look forward to jumping into this all with you today.
Awesome. Also, panelists are Aaron Mostyn and Slade Jones, two commercial solar killers, great mentors. You're going to want to pick their brains on anything commercial hereafter. So after the presentation, we're going to do questions, Q&A, real life situations, what to do, got a project here, where do I go, what do I do? We'll answer those live. We'll keep it anonymous, so just give you free direction on that. So jumping right into it. Let's see, change slides. Here we go. First quote, Babe Ruth, you can't beat the person that never gives up. And isn't that indicative of our solar industry, right? Every time utilities make a change, every time policy changes, we have to pivot. We've been so good at pivoting, and it's like we're a pinball in a pinball machine going back and forth. You can't beat us. The solar train has left the station. We're going to talk a lot about commercial today, but residential is also a huge market, and that's going to have legs beyond the ITC. Solar is going to perpetually get better and better and better, and we're going to show you the reasons why and actually the data behind it. So jumping right into it, our agenda today is one, why businesses buy solar? Kind of an interesting question, but we did some data analytics with our sales team and development teams, and we figured out why people buy solar. What are the best states for commercial solar? We're going to break that down too. We're going to go through highlights of the big, beautiful bill, HR1 bill breakdown highlights on what it does to commercial solar. We're going to go over that real quickly because you've probably heard it before. And then we get into the details. We're going to dive in deep on data analytics of non-ITC return on investment. And so that's why businesses buy solar for a return on investment. Whether they finance it or not, there is an ROI attached to the project and how quickly money comes back with tax credits and solar savings. Then we're going to get into sales strategies and kind of some guidance on where you should be looking, where you should be prospecting, how you should be doing it, and other key attributes of making it successful, because there's a lot of people in this industry that say that they do commercial, but there is few that do commercial. So jumping right into it, now that we're in post ITC territory, we can see it, right? We're 2.5 years away. Why do people buy? And so it gets into why people buy an EV. Why is EV adoption so big right now? And so based on AI and Google research, lower running operating costs. reduced environmental impact, better performance. Who doesn't like jamming on the gas pedal and getting your stomach squeezed back at you? It's awesome. Come on. Tech advancements, self-drive, lane assist, all that cool stuff that's coming into mechanical engines, but it's already here now with EVs. And number five, incentives. You got, I think, a $7,500 tax credit for buying an EV. That is not why people buy EVs. We have a few EV drivers here. Chris is one of them. Our project manager is another. They didn't buy the EV solely for the tax credit. So why would we think that solar is any different? Tax credit's going away. Why would we think people aren't going to buy anymore? It's not doom and gloom, kids. All right, this is where I'm going to turn it over to Chris. But based on our analytics, 71% of our commercial solar sales were bought on cash flow, whether it's a PPA, a lease, or ROI or a loan. They buy on cash flow. So that's where we see incentives not being that high ranked. So Chris, you want to comment?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, like John said, it's all about cash flow for business owners, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. When you're selling residential, there's a lot of different reasons people buy it, but for businesses, it's all about cash flow. I just presented a portfolio of 32 locations to a client, and we narrowed down really quickly which ones are not good. They just don't have good cash flow. They have long ROIs like 11, 10, 9+ years, and that just doesn't yield very good cash flow. So all of our deals that we have under contract or have built or are currently building, you can see 71% is all about the analytics, the cash flows there. So yeah.
Yep.
Um,
So that's incentives. The tax credit is nice for someone that uses the tax credit because we own and operate PPAs too here at Watthub. It's nice. It's awesome. It's like crack cocaine. Once you do it one year, you have to do it subsequent years. Nobody likes paying taxes, but it's it is nice. But that's not the sole reason why buyers buy. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. So, top five reasons that we see that people are buying solar. We just touched on it for a minute there. Was cash flow near term. There are always any business owners always looking at ways to lower their operating expenses. Electricity prices continue to go up, continue to increase. So that's a huge thing that they can't control, and so cash flow in that near term it really helps them. And you can see there with going solar, you can actually have a predictability. You have a fixed cost where without solar, you have 100% as a variable rate. If the utilities companies like we're seeing in America come to these business owners in the area and they slap 10, 15% increases, 20% increases that we've seen, they don't have a choice. They have to pay it. So nothing hurts more than us humans not having a choice. So it's a great thing, great product to continue to be around us being able to sell solar. Incentives, obviously, that's a big one. Like John just touched on, tax credits, depreciation. We love those here at Watthub. That's why we personally own some projects. That's why our company owns some projects under PPAs, is to lower our tax liability. What does that do? That allows us to take the money we would have spent to the IRS in taxes, and we spend that in other things, maybe different investments, maybe real estate, maybe a new vehicle, maybe vacation, whatever it might be. So incentives are great. Same thing for businesses. As they go solar, they can put that money reallocated into other things that are needed to really help with their growth. Next thing is raising property value. That's a big one. In appraisals that we have seen for people businesses that have solar and they're going to sell, we're typically seeing a little higher cost, a little higher value than what the net system cost was. Typically, an appraisal will take the annual savings that the solar system generates, and they divide that by the cap rate. And so if you do the math on some of that, it can be a pretty significant amount of property increase value because the next business owner, building owner, would have a lower operating expense. And then the last thing is going green, environmental impact. Obviously can help with a lot of that. So a lot of reasons to continue to go solar, even without the ITC. If you take out that number three, look at the different things that they're the reasons why. And as we see the ITC go away, guess what else is going to happen? We're going to see manufacturers most likely continue to get aggressive on their pricing.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, the ITC is scheduled to go away. At this point, we have no idea what's going to happen next term. So if it goes away in 2027 and 2028, a new administration comes in, they could bring it back because solar is the fastest deploying and most reliable energy source that we have. So solar's coupled with batteries, you can make a case against coal, natural gas all day long. So let's say ITC is gone, we still have depreciation. Depreciation is a huge incentive. 100% is back, and we'll go over that when we go over the big beautiful bill highlights. But it's back. You can write off the entire system, 100% of the cost. So you spend $1 million on your solar system on your building, you get to write off $1 million. So it's a huge tax saving. That's a big reason why businesses buy. ITC is great, but we often run into, I can't use the ITC or I can't use all of it. I've got a bunch of partners and it's all going to go to them and not all me. And then there's a lot of objections around the ITC, and sometimes we have to transfer it. Sometimes we have to sell it. Sometimes we have to bring in a PPA. No ITC is going to make deals cleaner. Tax equity is very expensive right now in PPAs. We do a lot of them, and we have a couple great partners, but tax equity with interest rates being high, it's just expensive. So what does that mean? If we need a PPA to fix price, they're going to pay you less. If interest rates get lower and tax equity gets cheaper, then because it's more competitive, because there's not a lot of projects going to tax equity, then things are going to change. So that's one wild card we have in our pocket that we foresee it getting better in the PPA market as well. But moving on, let's talk about states. We want to talk best states for commercial solar. And this is, again, our opinion because we are hosting the webinar.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
the best states, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, best states obviously that we've listed here. Keep in mind, we don't know everything. We're not perfect over here. So there's some maybe utility companies that are small that we might not know have some amazing incentives. But over on the left-hand side, you can see best ROI states with ITC currently. You can see California, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Arizona, Maryland, DC, Illinois. The ones in yellow you can see are a little less attractive just because cost of energy can be a little bit lower, but some do have some SRECs or local incentives, and that's New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and SREC states, different values in different states. So that just is state dependent. Best ROI states without ITC, obviously I touched on it a little bit, as we're going to see utility prices continue to increase throughout America. We've all seen it. We've all been in the industry, of us only a few months, but a lot of us for years, we've seen it continue to increase. I remember when Southern California Edison back in 2012, when I started living down there, residential rates were like 12 cents a kilowatt hour. Now they're in the 30 to 40, 50 cents. It's pretty crazy. But the right side, without ITC, you're going to have those high cost of energy markets, California, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Arizona specific portions of that. That's going to be a little tougher because they are in that 12 to 14 cents a kilowatt hour range. Maryland, DC, Illinois, some SRECs that are there. New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Colorado, those ones will be tough unless they're, again, some SRECs or local incentives. So, yeah, John, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, we know we missed some states. I mean, Hawaii is a big state, but Hawaii is, an island way out. There's not, I don't think there's really mainstream, like saturated solar companies that are over there. There's probably a handful that do commercial and they probably do really well. But Hawaii's never been a market we've got into. Alaska can have some high utility costs, but again, Alaska's Alaska. So there may be states to be missed, but um, here in the next webinar, so not this one, we're going to show what battery does, commercial solar and storage, and then battery only. So it's going to be exciting. A lot of these states are going to open right back up with that, but that'll be for the next one. What we want to take a look at in this slide is this is kind of your Bible, right? We put this together about a year ago, so this is maybe antiquated data. Utility prices have gone up, and especially in the New England and Northeast, we saw New Jersey, PSE&G, along with a bunch of surrounding utility companies that are going up 20%. They're asking their corporation commission or their governance for big increases. Here in Arizona, where I sit today, avoided costs, meaning subtract the demand charges, subtract the fixed charges, subtract all the non-bypassable charges. What can you save the customer? 11 cents for Arizona. There's a rate case for 2026. So if you're prospecting in Arizona for commercial, you need to tell your clients 6.5 to 30% increase is what they're going after. Crazy. California is California. We all know California. It's a wonderful place to prospect because everything just works. Yeah, it's such high avoided cost. Average is 22 cents. We've seen it as high as 40. We've seen it as low as 12.
We're going to continue to see rate increases everywhere, not just California like we're seeing. A lot of you're aware, summertime, we're seeing a lot of fires. That obviously can burn a lot of infrastructure, which means some increases as well. California, though, like John said, it's one of the best states. We continue to see rate increases there. There's plenty of sun there. Uh, Cost of everything's just expensive, so keep targeting that state for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Texas is an interesting market. It's a big residential market. It's historically terrible for commercial solar. 7 cent avoided cost, give or take. We underwrote one today. It had 4 cent avoided cost. It's very hard to make those pencil in any way, shape, or form. They're long ROIs, but they're gaining momentum in energy rate increases really fast. And so when you look at a Texas electric bill, it's a deregulated market. So there's usually for big energy users, there's huge demand charges. Demand charge management with batteries, again, something we're going to go into on the next webinar is really going to smash Texas, just dropping battery only. So I'm excited about that market. Not only that, they passed a, no city or AHJ inspection. So now a lot of the professional engineers that draw up the engineering will do their own inspections. It's going to speed everything up. And time is money in this business. All right, we're going to talk always reasons to buy. So there's good things, there's bad things about the ITC loss, but there will always be a baseline of business. Local mandates, new builds. We're working a lot of new construction in California, Scottsdale, Arizona, just examples that you have to go solar if you're building a new building. You have to at least be solar ready or have a certain percentage of energy. In Scottsdale, it's 5%. You need to go some sort of renewable source, but nothing makes more sense than solar at this point. Green requirements. We're working on a project. Slade's working on a project in Boulder that it's multifamily and they have to go solar. So the architect is like, how do we figure this out? How do we do it? And so we can help with that. Sustainability goals and requirements. So if you are a manufacturer to Starbucks, I don't care if it's plastic cups or coffee or straws or whatever. If you're a manufacturer to Starbucks, Starbucks is mandating sustainability goals. So all their manufacturers, all their suppliers across the country, they have to go solar. Then you have people who need the tax credits. They need the tax credits. They don't like paying taxes to the IRS. There will always be people that buy, and they'll buy on 10-year ROIs. They'll buy on 15-year ROIs because they want to do it for the right reasons and save money. Now, other required acts. So there's a lot of other reasons across the country, whether it be utility requirements, state requirements, local requirements, people will always go solar.
Yeah, even some lender requirements when they're building a new building. Some of the lenders out there do require some certain amount energy efficiency. So those are some other projects that we are working on.
No, it's a great point. SBA 504 loan. If they're doing a 504 loan, which is a very attractive interest rate, they're mandated to go solar at 15%. A lot of what we can do is kind of upsell that. And you're mandated to do 15, but if you did 50 or you did 70, it looks like this. And that's very attractive.
Yeah. For those that are jumping on still, there's a couple that are trickling in. Feel free to jump into the Q&A, type some questions. We do have Slade and Aaron that can get those answered, or we'll answer it live. So thanks for joining. Let's keep it going.
Got it. And next slide. All right, so I'm paraphrasing my good friend Duncan Hinkle at Sunstone Credit. Watthub has all the data analytics to get commercial done right and the ability to execute the project in all aspects. It's kind of a shameless plug for us, but we think we do a good job at making sure the data is right, making sure that all expectations are set right, and making sure that there's no hiccups in pricing or loan terms or not. So we try to produce as clean of deals as humanly possible because changes down the line equal heartache, they equal challenges, and you can lose street credibility with customers on that. So he did a nice testimonial for us. So we're happy to be where we are.
Yeah. One thing I'd love to touch on that is obviously with our data analytics, we have an amazing team behind us here at Watthub on the dev side. We don't just have one person go in and just build a proposal design. Residential, that's super common. Any rep can go out there and propose really anything they want on a rooftop. Here at Watthub, we pride ourselves in honesty, integrity. We want to make sure that the customer gets what they're promised. And so the very first thing, very first step, as soon as 12 months of utility bills come in, we have somebody that compiles all of the usage, kilowatt hours, demand charges, monthly, the rate schedule, any rate schedule tariffs, any future changes that are about to happen. That's all compiled, then goes to our software is inputted. Then we have somebody that then tasks another set of eyes that goes in and does the design to match that size of system that's needed for that usage. Then it goes to our dev lead manager, and he gets his eyes on it and checks all that work that the two others have already done, makes any tweaks, edits to that accordingly, checks any of the net metering caps or different things like that, checks parcel information, checks conduit runs. Then it goes up to John here on the call that gets his eyes on it before any proposal goes out to any partner or to any of us cells here at Watthub. And so that's over four sets of eyes that go through the analytics to make sure that it's accurate, so that we don't we don't overpromise and underdeliver. So that's one thing that we love, and we do take pride in that.
Great point. Yeah, we do a lot of work on each proposal. Many hours goes into it because you know you're going to get an accurate proposal. All right, so moving on, let's talk about the big, beautiful bill. It's not so beautiful. HR1 highlights. So I think hopefully you're mostly aware of what's going on, what passed on July 4th of this year. ITC windows for full amounts of ITC. The good news is we have full ITC for at least 2.5 more years. So we're talking a lot on this webinar about losing the ITC and how to offset that loss and how to continue to sell commercial. But we have it. We have it now. Go sell it. It's never been a better time. We say this is the apex of savings with the incentive package and with where utility rates are and going. This is the apex that someone could go solar. So you need to bring the future to the present and say, if you miss this window, you squandered the opportunity. You may never go solar again. Although that's false in California because there's always going to be good opportunity. Adders. The adders remain as long as there is ITC. So low income, which is very hard to get. We don't even propose it much anymore. Energy community is a thing. It's just if you're in the map, you get it. If you're not, you don't. And then domestic content. So as long as there's ITC, there's adders. So we can present, 30, 40, 50% tax credits on projects, make it super attractive and lower that ROI for the customer. Direct pay, transferability, domestic content intact. All of that stuff is a thing. So if you're talking about nonprofits, tax exempt entities, tribals, municipalities, they get a check from the government. So we had one tribal client receive, I think, $1.5 million for going solar that they didn't even anticipate because they did the project before that was even a thing. Transferability, again, if you don't have tax liability, if your customers don't, you transfer it out for cash and get cash injected into the project. Domestic content intact. We have a lot of clarity on it. It's not full clarity, but we have a lot of clarity on how to achieve that in rooftop and ground mount projects. 100% bonus depreciation is back. Like I mentioned earlier in the webinar, this is a reason why business owners buy solar. They need write-offs. Nobody likes paying taxes, so they need write-offs. This is a great way to put a proposal in front of somebody now so that we get started, get completed by the end of the year, and they get to write the whole damn thing off within 2 months. FIOC restrictions. This is something that is going to be tricky and challenging. There's not a lot of guidance on it yet. It's foreign entities of concern. So that meaning China, Russia, Iran, Laos, and a couple more countries. America doesn't want products coming from those countries to be built in solar and battery systems. So they're instituting restrictions. Most manufacturers are taking measures to get around those restrictions. They're building factories here, they're doing the right thing. The challenge is 93% of silicon comes from China, I believe. And so it's just hard to produce as much silicon as we need to build solar panels here in the US. But there are a few cell and wafer manufacturers that need to ramp up quickly. And then last one is battery ITC. That's got a longer runway. It still has FIOC restrictions, but it's got tax credits out till 2032, and then it sunsets thereafter. So when we're talking about solar and storage, there's some cost shift that can happen there. I mean, you can't say, hey, buy my battery system and get solar for free. That's fraud. But there is some cost shift. You could do it at cost on the solar side and put the margin into the battery side, and we're going to see a lot of that going on. So even if the ITC is going away for solar, there still be a very viable path to do solar and storage for the future. Any comments, Chris?
No, you touched on everything great there. It's still definitely some expectation, some urgency to build right now, and we still have a good runway. So
Yep,
now's the time.
you got it. Next slide is, oh, jumped ahead. Next slide, the two windows. So if you're not aware on how to achieve the full 30% ITC, there's really two windows. You start construction within 12 months of the bill passing. So that gives us till July 4th of 2026, just about a year. And then if you start construction, commence construction, which is still being defined, and it's annoying that nobody can just come out and tell us, but law's law right now, 5% safe harbor counts, before they come out with new guidance. We can lock in a customer, so it's more than just signing a contract. Signing a contract and paying 5% or signing a contract and dropping some equipment. It's going to be somewhere in that range that there's going to be substantial starting of the project. That'll give you 4-year runway. It's plenty of time. This was really built for utility scale solar, so it's plenty of time to build and construct the solar project. If you miss the window, so if you miss the 1 year commence construction, let's say you papered it, but you didn't commence construction, then you have to have it placed in service by 12/31/2027 for the full ITC amount. And placed in service defined by available for intended use. It's capable of producing kilowatt hours and sending it to the grid. It could be waiting on inspections for utility because they take forever in most states. So just it being substantially complete and writing a letter of available for intended use, I think will satisfy. Don't quote me on that, but we've done that in the past. We've been doing this a long time. There was a grant in lieu of tax credit about 15 years ago, and we wrote letters that were compliant back then. Keep in mind at the bottom here of this slide, the FIOC restrictions. Not exactly sure what those are going to be, but we know the countries. Well, essentially, from what I've heard and read, that it's going to have to be really about 40% or more domestic to avoid the FIOC restrictions, and that's on a componentry level. So more to come on that. The guidance isn't fully out yet on that, but it's going to be something that we're going to need to be using American manufacturing. So let's just get ready for it. All right, what does selling commercial solar look like without the ITC? So the meat and potatoes of the webinar here, I thought it was pretty funny that we can all step away from the ledge, the Groundhog Day picture in the back. We don't need to jump. It still looks good. All right, so these are some real projects. These aren't just words and numbers on paper, but we're going to go over them quickly, and I want you to focus on the highlights of them. So this is, 15 or so projects, real projects that were submitted, we developed, And then we're going to run sensitivity analysis and other scenarios in just a second. But you could see rooftop, ground mount, carport, all the likes. So the ITC ROI, the top one 3.8 years, the bottom one 13.3 years. Gives you a good flavor of, ROIs across the country based on system sizes, prices, and things. You take away the ITC, and we're jumping about 50% of return on investment. So if somebody bought the project cash, your 5-year ROI turns into 7.5, or your 10-year ROI turns into 15. So that's kind of a tough pill to swallow, but there's other hedges. So again, if we don't do anything, don't make any operational changes, and just sit there and let the ITC go away, and we're still charging the same amount, and everything remains constant, there's about a 50% ROI delta, give or take. And as you can see, lower avoided cost states have a higher sensitivity to that. So it's a higher jump. California, New Jersey's, and a little bit easier on the ROI delta. Now, let's look at lower costs. Hey, can we find 8% to lower the cost? Can we take it out of developer fees? Can we take it out of lower panel prices? Remember, everybody, if we don't have ITC, we don't have to adhere to FIOC, the foreign entities of concern. We can buy the cheapest panels on the street if we wanted to. Here at Watthub, we buy and procure, the top 20 global brands that focus on making panels as the core business, with, good warranties, big brands, good balance sheets, and insurance backing their warranty. So those are the panels that we like to put on our customers' sites, but it does vary. JA, Canadian Trinas, Longies, all across the board, we do just about everything. Can we find a few points there, a few points in inverters, a few points in developer fees, maybe a few points in commissions, and maybe a little bit of operational costs on the EPC side, which I know we can because I run an EPC. That's going to change the delta from a 50% down to a 26%. So instead of a 3.64 year jump on average, we're going to minimize that to 1.76. So if you're at a 7-year ROI, can you sell a 9? Sure, it can happen. Now let's look at another scenario. So same projects, same costs. Let's look at a 15% utility increase. And remember, early in the webinar, the Northeast, PSE&G, they're asking for 20%. APS here on the West is asking for 6 to 30%. We might see this 15% increase next year with the ITC, so it's exciting. So all these projects, same, a 15% energy increase, so that's better cash flow. Why do people buy commercial solar? Because of cash flow. So we see big energy increases over the next 2.5 years because the utilities are increasing rates because of the last 2 years. Last 2 years have been high interest rates. Last 2 years have been prevailing wage skyrocketing. Last 2 years, there's cost, inflation. Well, they need to raise rates to recoup that money. And so they're going to get it. All the corporation commissions and the CPUCs, they're going to give it to them. They're going to give them a healthy increase. And so what does that do? All things remaining the same, that's going to lower your delta to 1.5 years. So can you sell 1.5 extra years on an ROI? We know we can. Now you put them together. You slap a little bit lower of an operational cost and a little bit higher of energy costs, and we're looking at a 0.4 year ROI increase, less than a half a year. So the good solar states, the high cost solar states, it's going to be less than that. The bad solar states, the high priced carports on small system sizes, it's going to be a little higher than that. But what we're seeing is it's going to add a marginal effect to the ROI, assuming those two things happen. And that's only two scenarios of all the other things that are happening in the industry.
Yeah. One thing to touch on that, obviously that's like our average projects that we're seeing currently. With the tax credits going away, the higher costs coming, lower project costs. The depreciation, not every business owner has the ability to depreciate. The 100% is really nice, but I just got off a call with a portfolio project. They have 32 locations and they can't take depreciation. So without the ITC, without much depreciation, the return can be different. So just to touch on that, it is our average project, but obviously you can clearly see that there are still some fantastic returns for these clients.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, if you're in California and you're selling a 4-year ROI, now you have to sell a 4.4, or if you're in the Midwest where you have a 7 or 8 year ROI and you have to sell an 8.5, people still buy. So I think it's going to make the sale a little bit cleaner and a little bit faster too. So that's going to speed things up.
Mhm.
All right, let's talk financing. So financing tools, we use them every day. Our market share for Watthub is about 35% loans, 30% PPAs, and the rest is cash purchases. Just to give a number out there. We like Sunstone. We're onboarded with a couple different lenders, but Sunstone is one of the better companies that we work with. They have advanced funding, underwriting is the best, the great people, and then we get advanced funding. So if any of you don't like Sunstone because you didn't get advanced funding, come talk to us. But this is going to be one of the most minimal impacts to the ITC, because if you're financing a project on cash flow, solar savings, cash flow, loans are still going to work. Whereas PPAs, I joke, we're not exploding in PPAs. There will always be PPAs, but we see PPA rates going up roughly 20 to 30% without that 30% ITC. It's just a fact of how tax equity works. So there will still be PPAs available, but what we're going to see in PPAs is going to be shut off to a lot of low avoided cost states, low solar saving states, Midwest, Texas, hot Florida. You can't get low enough on an EPC to build a project to make a PPA rate be under 8 cents. Like it's next to impossible unless you're doing utility scale, but we don't do that. So we love PPAs, know how to structure them. Well, we do a lot of PPAs that are under 100 kilowatts that we put into private investors or own ourselves. So that's something, if you have smaller projects, come talk to us. All right, sales strategies. There's nobody better to go over sales strategy than Chris Leonard. Everybody can learn from him. Chris, you're on mute.
And I like to talk to myself. So, that's why I'm just kidding. Let's see. Sales strategies. So prospect best dates. We already talked on that towards the beginning. But if you are going to be prospecting, farm in the deepest pond. We touched on some of those states already at the beginning. If you're just jumping on, obviously this is going to be recorded so you can look at that. But don't stick a round peg in a square hole. Go ahead and utilize and spend your time on two things I would recommend. Is the best states, California, Massachusetts, states with SREX, Illinois, and focus on the larger ones. If there's urgency right now, there's a lot, this tax credit, it's building a ton. We're getting so many knocks at our door, past clients that are saying, hey, I'm ready to go because of it. But focus your time and efforts on the ones that are, A, going to help the customer save a lot more, and B, it can be a bigger paycheck. Sell and lower operating cost. We touched on that as well. Just like EVs, people buy them for several reasons. It's not just because they want to be tree huggers, or it's a lower the operating cost as the number one. Tax credits that are there, the depreciation, the added value, and just being able to put that money back into their pockets. Next one is the team with an experienced developer or teaming with. You want to make sure that the company that you're teaming with, or if you are a great company, continue to do what you're doing. But beware of trying to figure it out on your own. If you're new to commercial solar, you're using a residential software. If you don't know the difference in residential software versus commercial, call us. We'd love to show you why. We have companies across the nation that pay us to build them proposals, designs, put their logos on it. It's very important to have it accurate. And then commercial solar is pretty intricate, so that's why we recommend not using the solo. Aurora is a great design software, but as far as kilowatt hours, kW demand, it just doesn't show that before and after. So that's a big aspect there, especially with utilities like California. That's went from NEM 2 to NEM 3. It's very important to know how to size a battery and solar to understand if it's what's going to be the best bang for their buck. What I mean by that is actually having a software that shows the export rate annually with solar and with solar battery. Next is target 25,000 plus square foot buildings. That's what we focus on here at Watthub is anything 100 kilowatts and above. Anything smaller than that, it's just it can take just as long depending on the utility, the jurisdiction. Small buildings are usually just not worth the time because they take just as long. So we focus on the 100 kW. I've even considered raising that minimum to about 300 while we have this runway. Next one, utility territories. Stick to utility territories that are high cost of energy and have incentives, SRECs, or any other the other types of incentives that are out there for storage and for solar. Understand commercial commissions. It's a lot different when you're comparing residential versus commercial. Usually residential, everybody runs off of a per watt basis or red line. With commercial, every single project in my 7 coming up on 8 years here at Watthub, every single project has been completely different. Not one has been the same. The interconnection method may be slightly the same, but timelines, expectations, the sizing, the financing, everything's just different. And so that's why here at Watthub, we pay a percentage of gross profit. Anybody that brings us a project, refers a client, we take it A to Z, we pay them a percentage of gross profit. And when you're working with any local APCs that you have, that's typically what they should want as well. If they do pay you per watt, that could be a red flag, maybe some desperation there. Unless you guys price accordingly at the time of development before presentation. And like it says there below, is introductions are worth money. We definitely share a percentage of profit. We get a lot of people that want half of whatever our gross profit is, but I got projects that we've been working on for 3 years, and it's just getting to PTO from the contract. Some of these utility companies can be crazy. Sometimes we have transformer upgrades that can take 6 to 8 months just to even get the transformer and then inspections and everything. So that's why there's a lot of overhead that goes into it, and typically expecting half is not realistic. Fees increase with increased development expertise, as it states there. John, anything you'd like to add to that?
Nope, we've made it a point to pay people. We pay good commissions, even though we handle a lot of the work. And there was one example that I think needs to be relayed to everybody. There was a gentleman that referred us a deal. It was a new construction building. So we proposed, the client said, all right, cool, let's do it. But I got to build my building first. Took a couple years to build a building. By the time roof was on, we got solar up in a matter of like 3 weeks. It was 165 kilowatts in Utah. We put it up. He was out of the industry. And so we found him and said, we owe you money. And so that's the kind of company we are. We want to pay people. We want to make sure that you're paid, you're healthy, and we'll do anything we can to assist you and make sure that you're working on the high probability deals so that you close and feed your families. Nobody wants people running around saying, I've got a portfolio of 50 megawatts when it will not close. And we know who those guys are. We know who's offering the massive commissions, the unrealistic commissions that will never actually get paid out. So don't fall for somebody dangling this big fat stack carrot in front of you. That brings next slide. We went through this on a different webinar, but I thought it needs to be in this webinar because this holds true without the ITC still. Avoided costs from 4 to 24 cents on the left axis. The right axis is cost to build. And at the bottom axis, we're at system size. You can see where low, medium, and high probability deals are. Those represent a lot of states in those low, medium, and high. And so we just implore you, if you're looking at prospecting or looking at fishing in a pond, then let us help you steer you in the right pond. And lastly, it wouldn't be a Watthub webinar without our website. It's really easy to submit a project. If you have a project, you need a proposal, either sign up if you haven't already signed up for a free account and submit it. So you click a little button on the top right of your My Watthub page, and that's going to bring up this slide. And so if you have utility data, click submit a project. If you don't have utility data and you're just kind of throwing a referral over the fence, hit submit a prospect and put in the details. And that logs you in our system. It logs you in our CRM system too. So you can log in your My Watthub page and see exactly what deals you submitted, what stage they are, if there's any challenges or alerts. It's kind of like a pizza tracker. So we built our website to make sure to track your projects. And this is way underutilized. So I just needed to bring this up on the slide. Any questions or any comments, Chris?
No, yeah, it's like John said, the only thing is just super easy. Just submit a project. We help take it from A to Z. Unless you want just a proposal design, put your logos on it. That's just a paid service. And we would love to help make sure that your proposals and presentations are accurate for your clients.
Yep. We're getting close to the end. We want to do an office hours open. We got a couple open questions that were left for us to answer live. So now's the time, if you're listening, to start posting questions to the Q&A. We want to thank you all for your time. We're going to hang out for as long as there's questions, and appreciate it. We're going to record or this is being recorded. We're going to upload it to our YouTube so you can kind of chew on the data a little bit. We showed a lot of numbers, but overall, our sentiment is bullish. We have a lot of runway. We have long legs here in commercial solar, and solar and storage are going to be significantly attractive even without the ITC.